God, had a really bad drug problem, literally nearly lost my life to drugs. And then I had to decide either I was going to be a statistic or a part of society.
I'm your host, Jacob Flores, and today I have a very special guest, Carmen Bucco, Republican running for NJ-10. He is a small business owner and the founder of the Bucco's Rising Stars Foundation. Carmen, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for actually coming out and doing this. We appreciate it.
The pleasure is mine. You have a really interesting shirt on. You want to tell us about it?
So I'm making these shirts and I'm selling them as a fundraiser. It says, "Let the healing begin. No right, no left, no black, no white. It's time to unite." And I think that is a very strong message. Very strong message today, more so than anything. In a lot of ways, we've lost our moral compass, and we still get that back. You know, we need to get back to agreeing to disagree, right, and bringing back the respect of listening. And the reality is once you unite, then the healing process starts to begin. We got to work with each other. We're not doing that. There's more hate and gotcha moments than there is listening and understanding each side. And it's got to stop. Identity politics has done nothing for this country in the last 2+ decades. If we keep focusing on identity politics, we're just going to continue down the path we're continuing. And it's not me. I'm in my 50s. It's the younger generation that's going to feel it, and they're going to suffer for it. And I say to a lot of people, look, when an animal dies, it leaves its skin. When a human dies, it leaves its reputation and its legacy. I want my legacy to be that I changed the face of politics in the hardest district in the United States. One of the hardest districts in the United States. So that's what this shirt is meant for. It's to say, hey, we don't need to look at right. We don't need to look at left. We need to look forward and start understanding and agree to disagree with each other's problems and issues and fix them. And we're not doing that today.
You consider yourself one of those people who could, help people put their differences aside to work for a better future?
I truly believe I can. I do it every day, right? In my store, I get all facets of life that come through my door. As long as they don't bleed green, we can have a conversation. They'll, as I'm consulting, because I don't sell, I consult. Nobody should be a salesperson. They're consultants because they know what they're doing. It's their profession. But they'll come in and they'll see my sign that I'm running for Congress. And they're like, why? A suit guy running for Congress. How does that happen? And I could get into that if you really want to know. But we agree to disagree. We're never going to agree on everything. But if we understand each other's concerns and just listen, instead of talking over, just listen, you will get a lot further than you can imagine. I mean, I think you asked me a question earlier, and it's going to come up later. Can you work with the other side? I can work with anybody. You bleed green? No. I'm not, as long as you bleed red, you're good with me.
Something I also wanted to bring up. You did a lot of research on your personal background. Could you tell the audience about yourself, or where you came from and where you are today?
So, I've had a humble experience. I grew up in the foster care system. Lived in the streets, lived in my cars. God, had a really bad drug problem. Literally nearly lost my life to drugs. And then I had to decide either I was going to be a statistic or a part of society. And I took the latter of the two and said, I want to be a part of society, and just stayed focused, started shining shoes, and worked my way up to tailoring, so on and so forth. And I said, one day I want the American dream, and I'm living the American dream. I believe anybody can do it. You have to put your mind to it. You can do anything you want to do. So I'm excited about where I've come and the amount of respect I've gotten for just coming out of the barrels to make myself something. I use it with Bucco's Rising Stars, right? It's people understand it. Let me tell you something. People actually have a heart. people are very humanized. We just get emotional about politics. So listening to people in my business, I always listen and I take their ideas, but I don't do them right away, right? I'll stick them in the back of my head and I'll say, I remember he said this one day. And when I do it, finally do it, it's been very beneficial. I've built a very good business for myself. I'm very well respected in the industry. Because of my foundation, we get to help out younger generation. The foundation tries to raise money, and it's hard today to raise money for a foundation, but I try and transition foster kids and orphans into adulthood. A lot of these kids are actually sex trafficked, living on the streets. If anybody wants, I'll keep it this simple. If anybody wants to hear my story, they can go to any one of my websites. My story is on there. It's a long story, but it's actually gotten me clients. Clients come to me because of my background, my story, because they see I'm a real person. I'm not fake. Can't be. I'm not built that way.
That's fantastic. I want to shift over to politics with your election. You've had multiple runs. What keeps bringing you back, and why should voters see persistence as a strength rather than evidence that your message isn't connecting?
So I am in the top 10 bluest districts in the United States. And when people see an R in front of your name, you're automatically out, right? So it's not about the message. Unfortunately, we don't have the funds to get the message out. So we got to find ways to get the message out. Here's what I will tell you. Walking the streets and talking to the people, they love my message, right? And the message is about unifying the political parties, coming together, start the healing process, and get the job done. I'm no joke. I don't have time to joke around. I don't have time to dictate to people what needs to be done. We have to fix a problem. I'm a firm believer in if I get a cut, I'm not just going to put a Band-Aid on it. I'm going to heal it from the inside out. Because that's what we've been doing for the past 2 decades. We've been focusing on, we talk about healthcare, immigration, affordable housing, and a couple other things for decades. Has anything changed? Not really, right? People are still living, and they're worse off today than they were 20 years ago. Most. But politicians use that as rhetoric to divide us. I'm not about division. You can keep people divided, but once I start the healing process, I win this election, I change the face of politics. And it's not just about changing the face of politics. It's about the legacy that I'm going to leave behind. That says someone finally united us and brought us together, and now the problems are getting fixed, as opposed to just saying, we're going to talk about affordable housing, we're going to talk about healthcare, and do nothing about it, just to keep us away from each other. That's got to stop. You're hurting the people more than you're helping them. You're killing the future. You're killing the children and the grandchildren. You're taking from Peter to pay Paul. What are the young generation? You seem young. What does your generation have to look forward to? You think when you make $200,000 a year by the time you hit my age that you're going to take home $100,000? You're sadly mistaken. You're going to be paying for everything that's been happening today.
You lost to Representative LaMonica McIver in 2024. Looking back, what did you get wrong? What have you changed about your campaign this time?
I haven't changed anything about my campaign. The campaign's changed me. The campaign has actually opened my eyes even more. So I've befriended a lot of people over the past 2 years of this election. And it's not that we're doing anything wrong on the campaign. It's the fact of the matter is that people weren't listening then. They only saw, I'm a Republican, I'm evil. But when they saw the real me, they're like, okay, I can't tell you how many Democrats I have coming on to help us out, Republicans. Every aspect of the political realm is coming together because they believe in the message. And they truly believe that I am not here to play games. I'm here to get a job done. I don't work for anybody. See, the beautiful thing is, one thing they love about me is I owe nobody nothing. Also, nobody owes me anything. So I get to be who I want to be with not worrying about what people think of me. I've been basically abused online. But once they pull me aside and hear my answer, they're like, okay, my theory and my thought process has changed about you. We got to get back to work. We can't continue down the path we're continuing with the disrespect of each other. Respect has to come back. And I think that during this campaign has given me more heart than anything. It's opened up my heart even more. And it's opened my mind up to even issues that I didn't even know were going on were happening. And people are coming to me and saying, we know you could fix the problem. So it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good when somebody says they feel refreshed that there's someone out there as an option to start the healing process.
Sounds like a lot can change in just a couple of years.
It can.
I also want to ask you, what were some of the things that, what were some of the experiences that you never heard of before, never opened your eyes to until you had your campaign?
God, there's so many. I mean, I can't pick one or the other.
What would you say is the biggest one?
Quality of life.
Quality of life
in most of these inner cities. Over the past couple of years, I've gotten to visit some of these apartment complexes in Newark. And when you see a senior citizen who can't breathe because there's mold in their building, when I walked in, I was blown back by the disgusting smell of mold. The fact that we're hurting our seniors who built these cities by hand, it's kind of disgraceful. You know, that to me was the biggest. The fact that people can't afford to put food on their table today. We know it was always an issue, but kids playing Xbox and seeing mold infested walls, and our kids can't be kids anymore. So that was a lot of it. Even more so today. The fact that a lot of the programs for kids are disappearing because we're spending money on port projects to give our family and friends jobs. You're taking away from these kids. I mean, they are the backbone of the future. So we should be investing in them, not investing in giving friends jobs so they can put steak on their table, if that makes any sense. Once we stop that, you'll see some serious changes. And I'll say this, I don't give away grandma's recipe, but I will tell you that I've had enough of the housing problem that's going on in Newark, Irvington, and these inner cities where these landlords are taking advantage of our people. If the state's not going to do something about it, I'm going to work very hard to make it a federal crime to destroy the quality of life of our people.
If you were elected, what would be one of the first steps towards that?
Again, I got to work with, we're driven by the Democratic Party. And there's a lot of Democrats who are saying, man, I wish I was a Republican so I can vote for you in the primary. I think it's about having real conversations with them and making them understand that you can continue to dangle a carrot in front of these people's faces to get their votes. But eventually they're going to stop and say, wait a minute, I'm still living in this condition that I've been living in for the past 20 years. And you've done nothing about it. I'm going to give somebody else an opportunity. So I still think and believe that it's about having conversations. And to be honest with you, if they're not going to work with me, I'll find somebody who will. We will make it happen. It's just a matter about negotiating and working with each other. That's it. That's all it boils down to.
One last question involving incumbent LaMonica McIver. She has pleaded not guilty to federal charges stemming from an incident outside Delaney Hall. If she's ultimately convicted, do you believe she should resign from Congress? And if she's acquitted, would you consider the matter closed?
So that's a good question. Look, our politicians with this defund police have demoralized and demonized our police officers who are on the front lines protecting the people. When they're getting abused physically and mentally, it's an issue. Nobody wants to be a cop today because of this, because they're afraid to. If I was to put my hands, or you to put your hands on any officer, you're going to jail. You have, we're going to use Delaney Hall as an example. I feel, and I could be wrong, but this is my feeling, our politicians are using that as a show to get votes. In the meantime, they're destroying the community. She put her hands on a cop. Bottom line. They arrested somebody for threatening a police officer who's going to go to jail. It can't be rules for, or whatever it is, rules for thee, but not me, right? Look, she's pregnant. I'm a human. I have a heart. I'd hate to see her get locked up having a child. It's just, I have a heart, right? She should step down if she's convicted. If they throw it away, you've opened up Pandora's box, right? Because now you're saying, even worse, you can put your hand on anybody you want. She made a statement, I'll put my hands on any MFer I want. These are not the things you want in politics, right? You don't want this. I don't want, and I say it all the time, I don't want Jasmine Crockett 2.0 in our district. Our people deserve better than that. It's up to judges what they do. But I'll tell you that the wrong decision can cause major problems. It can open up Pandora's box, and that's not a good thing. So I'm going to leave it up to the judges. I trust our legal system.
One more thing regarding Delaney Hall. Governor Mikey Sherrill has defended the right to peaceful protest while also emphasizing public safety during demonstrations over immigration enforcement. Do you think she struck the right balance? Where would your approach differ?
Peaceful protesting is one thing, rioting is another. Look, she accused our officers of attacking people, protesters. But if anybody watched it, our officers, I give them so much credit because I couldn't do it. You're getting spit on. You're getting rocks thrown at you. You're being threatened. You're being pushed and shoved. Anyone who touched a police officer that day that was on film should be arrested and locked up for a minimum of 5 years. That's it. You're telling our officers to take off their masks, identify themselves. You know that people are doxing them, putting their lives in danger. These people, all they're trying to do is do their job and go home. They're there to protect and serve. They should be able to go home peacefully. So I don't see what she's done as a positive. They've done nothing. Her and the rest of all of the politicians that have gone there who've brought misinformation, they should be held accountable. Not the police officers. You be held accountable for all the misinformation that you're bringing. I tried to get in there. I can't get in there as a congressional candidate. I'm even willing to volunteer time to go and work in Delaney Hall. Tom Holman went and ate with the people who were locked up there. He ate with them. There was nothing wrong with the food. They had the health people, the Board of Health or whoever came in. There's maybe a few little things. So the problem is this is the biggest problem we have. It's misinformation and the media, which should be held accountable as well. Misinformation that's getting out and it's riling everybody up because everybody gets emotional. So tell me where the good is. Here's what I would do. You want to protest? No problem. You protest across the street. You riot, you go to jail. That's it. we're being lenient on people who are attacking our frontline men and women, who you're going to emotionally damage these people who serve and protect us. You're going to emotionally damage them and have them worry and their families worry about going home. I have a solution to the problem. Again, I'm not giving out grandma's recipe. There is a solution to the problem that will end it very quickly. Both sides have to come together. If they really want it to happen, both sides need to come together.
Just to clarify real quick, just I might miss something. You mentioned law enforcement. Are you including both the ICE agents present at Delaney Hall and police officers, or both? Or
they're all officers.
Right.
They've all taken an oath to serve and protect. They're all officers. So police, anybody who takes the oath to serve and protect, that carries a gun or a police officer, they're all, in my eyes, they're all officers. So ICE agents are police officers. That's my opinion.
Next point, I want to talk about some of the points in your campaign. Your campaign says protecting the Second Amendment is part of improving public safety. Which New Jersey laws or gun laws do you believe violate Second Amendment, and what specific changes would you push for in Congress?
Mostly all of them violate. You should be able to carry, and you know it's funny, like most people, they make it very difficult for people. If people want to get a gun and carry, they should be able to, right? It's the Second Amendment. But they make it very difficult, especially for people who can't afford it. It could cost you up to $1,500 to $2,000 to be able to get a carry conceal license. Most people can't afford that. The fees are way too high. I carry and conceal myself. The fact of the matter is the laws are so strict that imagine, I say this, some lady asked me about what I feel about guns. And so I'm going to answer the question with a question. You're driving down the street. It's you, your daughter, and your granddaughter in the car. Somebody comes and starts bashing your window with a bat. They want to get in. They want to kill you. Basically, it's basically what they're saying, right? They're bashing your windshield with a bat. You have two options. Shoot them or call the police. By the time a cop is able to get there, it could be too late. You can have 3 innocent souls dead. But she has a carry and conceal. She says, you got my vote. The laws are so strict that you can't carry in a park. We could probably, again, I'm a respectful person, I carry. So there's law-abiding citizens that carry, but the laws restrict them from anything. Look, I believe that you should have a stand your ground if somebody comes in your home and breaks into your home. You can't shoot somebody. You're supposed to escape. You can't shoot that person if they're breaking into your house. You don't know if they got a gun. You don't know what kind of weapon they have on them, but you can't shoot them. I believe you should have a stand your ground. Legislation needs to focus more on the people who are violating gun rights, the illegal guns that are on the street. That's what they should be focused on, not the responsible gun owners. That's what I feel about that. So I think legislation needs to focus more on the criminals than the illegal guns than respectful and responsible gun owners.
I want to ask again, you brought up the permits that cost around $1,500 to $2,000.
That's not just the permits, right? That's your training. You have to be trained. You can't just carry a gun and expect it, right? Our police officers, after they're retired, can carry. They got to go through 2 qualifications a year. A concealed carry person only has to do it once. Our police officers should only have to do it once. They carry all their life. But most people don't know how to handle a gun. And I'm a firm believer in if you're going to carry, you should go through this training. How to holster, how to pull out quick on your holster, how to make sure you cock it right. You should know, and most people will go through that training for their own safety, right? If you have a gun in your house, you want to be safe. So when it comes to permits and the gun and everything that comes in line with it, it could be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000.
Families across New Jersey say groceries, rent, utility bills are stretching their budgets. Which costs can Congress realistically lower, and how?
Unfortunately, you probably can't do anything about lowering rent. Most people who own two-family houses they're basically small business owners. They have sorry,
It's all right.
they have to have bills to pay, right? Like this whole thing with New York. Do you know how ludicrous that is? So you're telling homeowners to lower their rent, but they got expenses to pay. Everybody should be able to make a little bit of money, right? If they own a property, don't do it to not make money. Anybody who does something to not make money, in my eyes, is, all right, I'm getting into business to not make money. So I'm going to be nonprofit. So rents are hard to come down. When it comes to groceries and taxes, you can get that down. Here's the problem is I believe if I raise the price of bread, I'm going to keep it at that price. I'm not going to lower it. People are spending the money to buy it. So government has to come in and say, hey, wait a minute. These big stores, you got to bring the prices down. People simply can't afford it. And prices are coming down. When there's fuel charges, what people don't take into account is fuel charges to get the food there. Electric bills have gone up, which is ludicrous. This governor locked us in to the highest rate. We're gonna help the people, but I'm gonna lock you into the highest rate. Don't be fooled. Your gas and electric bills are gonna go up again very soon. But that's something else that can be brought down. Taxes can be brought down, but that's not going to happen overnight. I'm a firm believer in equalizing and stabilizing taxes. I will never, ever, ever tell anybody that I'm going to lower your taxes. Every single politician says it. How many of them will lower your taxes? Once the price is up, it's very rare that it comes down. But there's ways to fix it. I'm sure we'll get into that.
We will get into that shortly. I'm going to shift the topic to another part of your campaign involving education. You said schools are spending too much time on quote-unquote other things instead of education. What exactly are those other things? Could you give any examples?
So, and again, I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. But what I do is when I have education questions come up, police questions come up, I always reach out to my consiglieres, we'll call them, all right? But, I heard something that was very interesting. There are children in our school district, and I always trust, but I verify. Haven't gotten a chance to verify all of this yet. But there are kids that go to school today that will miss up to 60 days, and the taxpayers in the state get on the hook for paying these kids to now have to go to summer school. And in summer school, they're just spending their day on their phone. That's one problem. The fact that we want to start bringing sex education into our children's education system at a young age, to me, is ludicrous. You want to talk about LGBTQ as an educational part of the curriculum, DEI. We've gotten away from what really matters. We have the lowest grades that you could possibly think of. Kids can't read. Kids can't do math. Why aren't we focused on that and preparing them for real life? Is an LGBTQ course, DEI course, or sex ed course going to prepare them for what's out in the real world? Because it's not. We need to get back to the basics of reading, math, sciences, and real history, not history that we indoctrinate into our children. Today, we're more focused on indoctrinating our children to convince them to vote a certain way, to live life a certain way. You're molding these young men and women to fail in the future if you don't get back to what is necessary. That, and along with technical schools. AI is going to be a big, big problem. Probably in the next 15, 20 years, you're going to lose jobs. Anybody who doesn't do handwork or any kind of technical work, you're going to have a problem. AI is taking over the world. We should be preparing these young men and women for jobs that will pay them and give them an opportunity to live the American dream. We're not doing that in schools, but we'll pay. And then you have schools and you're laying money on the taxpayers, for you're taking away money from some districts to give to other districts because the state will pay those districts more because they teach these, to me, not important curriculum to our kids.
You mentioned indoctrination in schools, specifically with history. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yeah.
Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
I think we got to stop being selective on what history we teach. Teach real history. Bring it out. These young men and women, they're not as I don't want to say stupid, but they're not as ignorant as we think they are. They're brilliant. They read, they learn, they Google everything. They use AI, right? They can take what you say and Google it and be like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, right? So we got to teach them real history, not the history that we want to teach them, that just molds them. No, teach them real history lessons that brought us to where we are today, 250 years later. Let them understand that. And to be honest with you, we got to bring civics back into schools. I was talking to a lady at an event, and she made a lot of sense. She's like, we don't talk about civics. These young men and women don't even know what Congress is. They don't know what an assemblyman is. They don't know anything except for what they hear at home. So that's something else we got to bring back to our kids. Start educating the right way. Teach these kids what they need to know to get out in life. Listen, I barely made it out of high school. I had to do things to survive, so I would miss days in school, and I was like, either I got my diploma sent to me in the mail. You know, do I regret it? Yeah, I wish I was a better student, but the way I was, I didn't care. You know, I didn't think anybody cared about me in life, so I didn't care. So I'm like, all right, whatever. But we failed these kids, we failed the future. And I'm not willing to stand for that.
I like that point you made when you brought up how, you got your diploma in the mail, you may have some regrets. But I also like to think, at the same time, going through those things kind of made you appreciate, the importance of, getting a good education, learning how to be a good student, learning civics, history.
Look, my life has made me very relatable because I've lived it, right? I went to a youth group one time and they were talking about drug use, and they were just reading it out of a book. You can't teach somebody that unless you've lived it, right? I can talk to you about certain things, but if you haven't lived it, it's very hard to really see it. Does that make sense? Like,
Absolutely.
I'm not going to teach you out of a book. I'm going to teach you based on real life. And I told the preacher, I'm like, you're giving these examples, but they're false. They're not really what happens when you live that life. And we need, I'm all about, in this election, I'm about mental health. We have a mental health crisis because of COVID. That we had a mental health crisis before, but now, after COVID, it's gotten worse. People are tunneled. They don't see what's going on around them. And we see it every day.
I remember in a previous interview, someone asked you about building coalitions to solve problems. Kind of mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to bring it up again. Can you name, let's say, one Democratic elected official you'd be willing to work with, and one issue where you think common ground is possible?
Look, for me, every issue can become a common ground. There should be no partisan in an issue. We have to come to a common ground. We have to look at an issue. We have to work it. Is it going to be hard? Listen, life is hard, right? And are a lot of Democrats going to agree with me or disagree with me? Probably. But I'm going to work with all of them. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. And I don't mean to go back to this, but I don't care about identity politics. Identity politics has done nothing, and we're still in the same situation we were for 2 decades. So it's not about identity politics with me. It's about, are you willing to listen to me? Because I'm willing to listen to you. So I can work with any Democrat. I don't look at him as a Democrat. I don't judge people. Only one person judges, and I'll wait for his judgment. People can try and judge me all they want. Only one person is going to judge me, and that's the man above.
If you're elected, the overwhelming majority of your constituents won't be Republicans. How do you convince Democratic voters that you'll represent them just as strongly?
Again, I don't judge. I don't care about identity politics. That's what this shirt is about. There is no right, there is no left, there is no black, there is no white. The healing will begin because I will focus and work every single day to make sure I unite and work together. If I fail, don't reelect me. I tell people, give me one shot. I think they'll be quite enthused and surprised because I will find a way to heal.
Last few questions, I wanted to talk about the Trump administration. What's one policy that they have you believe has directly benefited New Jersey? And what's one you think that has made life difficult for New Jersey residents?
I'll say the no tax on tips. The border has made a difference, closing that border. The one thing I do wish we could get more ground on is the healthcare. It's made it very difficult, even for me. My healthcare went up 4 times the amount it was. People can't afford it. They're afraid to go to the doctor because they're afraid to find out something's going to happen, and they're going to owe the hospital hundreds of thousands of dollars. They lost their whole life savings. We need to stop talking and start doing when it comes to the healthcare. I think you had asked me a question earlier. If Trump was to ask, or if Trump was to come up with a policy, do you remember that question or something like that? You were going to ask me about a Trump question.
I mentioned that if you disagree with President Trump on an issue that's important to the district.
So, and we got to the point where I don't care about identity politics. Look, it doesn't matter who the president is. We have to respect the seat of the president because that's what the people elected. When I'm there, it's not my job to just agree. It's my job to question and oversee. If I don't agree, then I don't agree. Right? So again, it boils down to us coming back together as a united party, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent. Because I say it all the time, a lot of Republicans and a lot of Democrats are leaving the party and going independent. The independents are out registering Republicans and Democrats daily. So we got to get back to that. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Just, you made me think of a question. I remember an interview that you had where the interviewer was mentioning that you were Republican, but not necessarily MAGA. So just to clarify one last thing, if elected, we can see you as somebody that could, if you agree with something that the rest of the party does, you'll go with it. But if something that you disagree with it, you'll disagree with it.
I have to put my head on my pillow at night. I am not bought for or paid for. I don't work for anybody but the people. That's their seat. I'm just there to represent it. So I will vote from my heart what is in the best interest for the people in my district.
Just one final question. What's one assumption people have about Carmen Bucco that they get wrong?
You only want one? I got a bunch of them.
Go ahead.
Let's see. They mistake my kindness for a weakness. I'm a person who believes in doing the right thing. I don't believe I say this, God watching over me, but I don't like to lie, cheat, or steal. I can't lie because I'm going to have to try and remember my lie. I can't remember what I ate for dinner last night. So I just tell people, this is who I am. I stay true to who I am. And I will never let anybody try to disrespect me or ruin my reputation, because that's one thing I won't stand for. The other thing is because I have an R in front of my name. Look, I'm a registered Republican because I believe in a lot of the values that the Republicans believe in when it comes to fiscal responsibility, the Second Amendment, the right to free speech, right? So I believe in all that, but I also understand that we need to give a hand up, not a handout. You mentioned about taxes, and I think you were asking, how do I balance the raise in taxes, right? If I told you the amount of corruption that's going on in this country, in this state, is devouring and stopping us from doing what we need to do. We are, when it comes to healthcare, we're paying for illegal immigrants' healthcare. You're taking away from the people who really need it. When we give them SNAP, when we give them welfare, they're taking away from people who need it. I'm going to tell you, when I get to office, I will work every day. The corruption will end. If I find the corruption in my district or the state of New Jersey, I want that money to go back to the people. If I was able to cut $1 billion out of the corruption that's going on, and we've seen already $212 million in the medical field or the healthcare field, $212 million from one company, corrupt, fraudulent billing and all that stuff. If I saved $1 billion, do you know what I could do with $1 billion?
What would you do?
You asked the question about how to resolve the tax issue. That money's going to go back to the people. We're going to invest in our young men and our young children and their grandchildren. Because if we don't invest in them today, I talked to a couple kids that went to Lincoln Tech. I said, where do you guys see your future? They're like, we don't have a future. We're going to start investing back in our kids because they are the future. And we're going to have we're going to have a good time doing it too. I'm actually having fun with this campaign. I'm meeting so many people that I haven't met. They're putting me in front of people. I'm going to bring back hope. And people are going to start voting again. So that's where the joy of my election comes in. Win or lose, I still have to go to work the next morning.
Carmen, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you please tell the audience where can they follow you and your work?
Yes. It's Bucco for New Jersey on all social media platforms. And www.carmenbucco.com. Look, if you'd like to buy a shirt, they're $25. Go right to my website, make a donation. We'll send you a shirt. We are a grassroots campaign. We are not taking money from big corporate because I want to owe nobody anything. And just understand, man, my election is about the healing process, bringing back unity and working together, and actually finally for once solving the problem. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I really appreciate your time.
Carmen, the pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
You got it.